Puma makes some of the worst football kits out there, and I don't think that's for debate. Bad materials, some shirts look like pyjamas, but why? Are they trying to be different, or do they just not get football? So let's look at why Puma creates such bad football kits. Don't look at the history of Puma prior to the 50s, but to me, the history of Puma is the Puma Kings. Some of the most iconic football boots ever made. Saw players like Pele, Johan Cruyff wear them. But football kit wise, I don't think they've ever really been that dominant. I believe Borussia Mönchengladbach were the first team with a Puma kit, but someone who I believe helped Puma quite a lot was Johan Cruyff. As he wore the Puma Kings, and apparently he had a fierce loyalty to his Puma sponsors, he wouldn't even wear 3 stripes for the Dutch kit that was sponsored by Adidas. He needed 2 stripes on his match kit and his tracksuit. And also during that time, Puma had a deal with Ajax to be the kit manufacturer from 1977 to 1979. But other than a few years with Inter Milan in the 70s and 80s, and being one of the main Atletico Madrid kit manufacturers in the 80s and 90s, they didn't really dominate, and they didn't really have massive football teams wearing the Puma logo. I'd argue they didn't really make it that big until the 2000s, because this is where they got their first Premier League kits. And fans from other leagues, fair enough, you can get annoyed that I'm going on about the Premier League, but it is commercially the biggest league in the world. In 2002 they made the Everton kit, and then later on in that decade they also made the Spurs kit. They also made the Cameroon kit, and if you're old enough, or if you have access to the internet, you will know that Cameroon had some vest kits that actually got banned during AFCON. And during this decade, you can call it lucky or not, Cameroon won 2 AFCONs with Puma as their sponsor, and Italy won the 2006 World Cup in what I'll say a really nice kit made by Puma. I mean, the 2006 Italian home and away kit, they were all timers then. So this isn't just a biased video, they did make some really nice kits. But then the 2010s happened. They had Spurs for a short period of time, they had Newcastle, they even got the Borussia Dortmund Klopp years, and they still had the Italian national team. And think about it as well, Italy got to another international final in 2012 against Spain. So what happened?
You blew it! You had it all and you blew it!
2000s Dortmund kits were terrible. They went from the 90s where they were just perfect. I can't go on enough about how much I love those kits. They could have had a renaissance in the 2010s. And while I say they're okay, aren't they? They're just a yellow kit. I mean, they're not offensive. Puma also had Leicester for a lot of the 2010s. And when they had Leicester, Leicester won the league in 2015-2016 season. I mean, they bet on a small, championship team at the time. I mean, it wasn't like they were like, right, we're going to bet on them to win the Premier League wearing the Puma logo. It was just a massive stroke of luck. But 2015, although they had the Leicester season, here's when things start to suffer. And that was with Arsenal. If you're a fan of my videos, or you just hate watch them, or if you're just interested to see how many times I've changed my t-shirt when I'm bulk recording them, then you'll know I can't stand these Arsenal skin tight shirts in the mid 2010s. I go to bed and I wake up in cold sweats thinking of wearing one of these shirts. I'm not even an Arsenal fan. But you know what? In a recent video we talked about Arsenal. Newcastle, I forgot about them. They also had these shirts. They had the skin tight ones. And also they had a Wonga logo. So they have the Puma skin tight shirts with a Wonga logo, so you know what, they deserve to go down into the championship. And you know what, there's probably 1% of the audience listening to this video might be partial to a sunbed, love looking at yourself in the mirror, and love these skin tight Puma shirts. But for the rest of us, they're just awful. And to me, this is where they were trying to innovate. They were trying to work with the new materials and technology that they were given, but it just went wrong. And I don't think when you've got 2 of the biggest clubs in England, regardless of where Newcastle were at the time, it's the time to start messing about with it. If they just produce brilliant classic kits for those teams, then I think Puma would be in such a different place in 2025. But again, removing my bias, the Italian shirts just throughout their time with Puma were brilliant. But the late 2010s where Puma made a statement to all the other manufacturers, because they got 2 of the biggest clubs in the world signed up, Manchester City and AC Milan. AC Milan's deal was around €30 million a year, and Man City, £650 million over 10 years their deal is. So now you have the best team in England, and AC Milan, who were on a bit of a down spiral in the late 2010s, but were definitely going in the right direction. And let's just go through it quickly. AC Milan, terrible. What were they doing? To me, I just think it needs an Adidas logo in the top corner. To me, Inter Milan need a Pirelli sponsor on the front of the shirt, and AC Milan need an Adidas logo at the top of the shirt. It's just things that were probably written in stone in the dark ages. it felt wrong having a Puma logo on an AC Milan shirt. And to just quickly go back to Arsenal, in 2019 they signed a £300 million deal with Adidas. So they left Puma, and in 2019, if you remember, those Arsenal kids were unreal. They came out of the dark age. Most of the kids in the 2010s were pretty meh for Arsenal, but that 2019 one, the home and the away one, was just, that's probably one of the most popular away kits of the last 20 years. It resembles the early 90s away kit for Arsenal, and it was one of the, I think people are doing it a lot better now, but it was one of the only retro remakes that I think have just, it was perfect. So going from maybe some of the club's worst ever shirts to going to possibly the best in a couple of decades, it has to be a huge blow, and it just made Puma look worse and worse. But just quickly, to go back to AC Milan, you could argue they have some of the best kits ever made. The 2000s, again, I always say they're just iconic, aren't they? They're so simple, but they just look brilliant. And I don't know if it was the material, I think the neckline just looked terrible on these new shirts. It looked a lot like a training top a lot of the time. I mean, they weren't all bad. I think the 2020-2021 one was a pretty solid top. Again, it wasn't offensive. But the 2019 one, I'm sorry, I just couldn't get on board with it. And in a period where AC Milan were getting back, you know, they won the Scudetto with Ibrahimovic back with them, they needed to be wearing those brilliant kits. Unfortunately, they just weren't. But before we move on to Man City, let's just talk about AFCON in 2023. It's 2023, okay? Kit designers must know what material should be used in different types of temperatures. Have you seen the videos and the pictures and the highlights of this time when the Egyptian players, it was literally stuck to their skin because they were sweating and the material just could not hold up? I mean, it genuinely looked like wet tissue paper. You look at the kits that Nike made for Nigeria or Adidas made for Algeria, that's how a kit should be made in heat. I mean, it's not the first time any players played in 30 plus degree heat in the world, is it? To me, this is the same with Castore when they had the Aston Villa kits, and when you sweated in those, in England, they just stuck to the players' bodies. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know how to make a kit. I'm not going to sit here and say I do. But if you're getting paid hundreds of millions of pounds over 5 or 10 years, you need to make a kit better than that. But let's finish with Man City, because it's been interesting with the Puma deal that they've had. The first one, I don't really have an opinion on the home kit. It's okay. I don't love it. The third kit, however, was terrible. It looked like an ice lolly. But you know, it's the first year of Man City, and the third kit, who cares what colour it is? It's always just a bit of a creativity piece, isn't it? 2020, 2021, again, it was okay. It was an interesting home shirt, and the away shirt was really nice, I thought. But it's the next season where we need to discuss not just Man City, but everyone. I'll tell you this, before we get into it, what do you require from a football shirt? Sleeves, I'd say, unless you're from Cameroon, or for it not to singe into your skin when you start sweating, unless you're playing in AFCON in 2023. I'd say a badge though, because if I was buying a football shirt from my team that I'm spending 70 to 80 pounds on minimum, I would like it to have the team I support's badge on there. But Puma went, no, let's not do this year. Let's try something with the third kit. Yeah, colour waves, fine, you can do whatever you want, but at least put a badge on it. The Puma logo was in the middle as the badge of the kit. Then it had the team's name on it, just in case you forgot who you were watching. And then it had the sponsor of the club in massive letters. AC Milan had the same. Fenerbahce had the same. And I'm sorry, people will have Fenerbahce crests tattooed on them. So they'd at least like to have a badge on the shirt that they buy. I always moan about the lack of innovation within football shirts. And you know what, people go, oh, well, they gave you it and you don't like it. However, there's innovation and there's just pure stupidity. Who was going to buy these? They literally look like a pyjama top. And you know what, I'm so happy Real Madrid beat Man City in the Champions League in 2022, because how could they go to the Bernabeu and wear that and go through? It's just, it doesn't compute in my brain. But before I end, what I'll say, City's shirts post this season, I think, have been pretty good. The away shirt this year, I absolutely love it. It's supposed to be a kind of a remake of the 99 player final shirt. I love when a retro shirt is being remade and it's done really well. Look at the Adidas ones of Newcastle this year. Dortmund as well, I think they've been quite creative. And also in 2020-2021 season, they had the 97 kit, I believe, the limited edition, and it literally broke the website. I tried to get it, I couldn't. So they definitely are capable. I just think they blew it a bit in the 2010s. and they're still trying to catch up, but they are going in the right direction. However, in my opinion, that is why Puma makes such bad kits, because they try to be too innovative, they try to be too different, and unfortunately sometimes there's the fine line between doing a template kit and just doing a classic kit, and I think they just couldn't find that middle ground. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Puma kits. Do you have any? Are you a Man City, Dortmund, Milan fan? Maybe you think different than me. Leave a comment below, if you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.